mushroom ticket, curse die ticket, golden pipe, regular pipe. I wonder which one is better. Now, if you played enough Mario Party, you probably know the answer to those questions, as those two kind of have obvious answers. But those are the kind of questions we'll be tackling today, as I'm going to be ranking every single item from Mario Party Jamboree into various tiers. Okay, so let's just get right into it. I'm a big Mario Party fan, and I really like strategizing and coming up with, different ways to win, and that's like my favorite part about Mario Party. I mean, bullshit luck can be fun too, but my favorite part of Mario Party is that looking at items and shops and everything like that, and sort of formulating my path to win. So after playing some games and watching a bunch of different content, here is my tier list on where I think the various items fall. Also, just keep in mind, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to have a different one. You disagree with me, feel free to leave me a comment in the comment section down below. This is obviously just how I feel. Alright, let's get into the first tier. So, the worst item in the game, which is something that should not surprise you at all if you also played Superstars before this, is by far the cursed dice block. I know it technically in this game it's called creepy dice, but it looks the exact same as Superstars, so I don't know. Those two, they kind of just, to me it's still the cursed die, but whatever you want to call it. Cursed die, creepy die, that is by far the worst item in this game. And it's purely because of the way it interacts with other items in this game. You may look at this item on face value and say, oh, it forces the opponent to roll low. Like, that could be good, right? Slowing your opponents down, and everything like that, like, decreasing their movement, that could be really helpful. I could leave them behind and go to get a star myself. Is what you would think, how you would think this item would work. But the reason this item is so bad is because if your opponent, the opponent that you use this item on has any sort of movement item, this item becomes immediately useless. Because the way the curse die works is if your opponent is cursed and they use a mushroom or they use a double dice, or anything like that, any movement boosting item, the curse die block just cancels out, right? Instead of having the double dice be 2 dice sets of 1, 2, 3, or the mushroom just boosting +5 to their roll of 1, 2, 3, the curse die just becomes completely irrelevant. And so that is why the curse die is the worst item in the game, because it's basically useless. You either pick on the person who doesn't have any movement-based items, which probably means they're not doing very well in the game anyway, which won't help you a ton, or you just use it just to get your opponent to use their movement items. The curse die is something I never use unless I have no other items to use, in which case I would just use it just for the items used bonus star. I just use it while I have this one turn where I can actually use it and it won't just be sitting in my inventory the whole time. So by far the worst item is the curse die. Now the second worst item, I'm really just gonna glaze over these next two because they're both variations of the curse die. So the second worst item I put is the curse die ticket, which just lets you use a curse die. It's one item that lets you use the curse die over multiple turns. Now, I guess technically this is better than the curse die, because the thing with the ticket is you can use the curse die one turn to get your opponent to cancel out a movement item, and then the next turn you can curse them. So technically it is better, as it does have a better chance of actually working. But the fact of the matter is, just use a mushroom, right? It would be better if you got the curse die, if you just use the curse die in the first turn, it goes to waste, and then you just use a completely different item the second turn. That would just be better for you. This item is just kind of the same. And then you have the super creepy curse die. whatever. It's called the super creepy dice. Sorry, it's creepy curse. You know, gets all confused in my head. But so that's the same thing, except it inflicts the curse die effect on all of your opponents. Which, okay, I guess you're most likely guaranteed to get at least one. I mean, it does feel like movement items are given out much less in this game than Superstars. I don't know if that's just like a smaller sample size, but it has at least felt like arbitrarily there's been slightly less lucky spaces and item spaces, so slightly less movement items are given out, so maybe you get somebody, but it still is not an item that is really great, and it's not one that I would ever say anyone should buy ever. Buy literally any other item but the curse/creepy dice box. So those are the only items I have in the tier that's called bad, like bad items, like avoid at all costs kind of thing. So now we're getting into a tier that unfortunately is not much better. It's called items that have a chance to be good. And the items that are in this tier are in this tier because of exactly what I said. They have a chance to be useful. They're not guaranteed actually to provide anything of value to you, but they could provide value to you. Some can provide immense value to you. Some that could provide enough value that you could win the game based off of how this item based off of how the items in this tier play out. But it's just random chance. These items have a chance to do absolutely nothing for you and be a waste of coins and a waste of an item, or a chance to have chance to be an item that actually wins you a game. First up on this tier is the 10 coin steel trap. Now, I know this is going to feel weird saying that on items that technically have a chance to win you the game, although really this item does technically have a chance to win you the game if someone lands on it and gives you 10 coins, and that 10 coins is enough for you to buy a star, or that 10 coins is the difference between a coin tiebreaker. That could be enough to win you the game, but it's probably not going to happen. And I'll just say, put all the traps here. The 10 coin, the 1/2 coin, and the star steel are all here. And the one that I'm sure will be most contentious is the star steel trap, but I'll get into that in a second. The thing with these traps is literally they are the epitome of what I'm talking about with this tier. They have a chance to do something for you. They have a chance to hurt your opponents, give you more coins, or give you a star, but they could also just do nothing. Like, they have a very real chance of just sitting on the board for the whole game and providing absolutely no value to you. So then would have been better if you just used an item that gave you a guaranteed value, like a mushroom. You'll see very quickly why mushroom is so high, because you have the chance of putting an item here and you have the chance of it doing something like right? Like, because if that item, that trap you just placed does nothing, it would have been better if you used a mushroom that turn instead. But yeah, so the 10 coin steel trap, you just place it on a spot and hope someone lands on it. Really not that impressive. The 1/2 coin steel trap, I mean, this one has a chance to be a big swing with how high the economy is, but again, it's just complete and utter random chance that someone actually lands on it. And one thing to note, I guess this one's value really depends on the length of the game, because obviously the longer the game goes, the more likely someone is to actually land on it. Like, I would not go after any of these items in a 10-turn game. I would just not do it, because you're relying on someone going around the board, and hitting that same spot. Right? Like, again, when if you place traps early on in the game, you're at least giving yourself, in like a 20 or 30 turn game, you're at least giving yourself better odds that someone will land on them, because there'll probably be people wrapping around more times. But again, it's about how much value do you get out of maybe something, happening. And the reason the stars are also here, I did think about moving the stars up, because getting a star steel is a huge swing, especially for the price that these are cost. But the reason why I put these so down is a lot of these traps you can't really buy them until the second half of the game. And that just really tanks the value. because like if you were able to get a Star Shield trap by like turn 2 and then place it up, right, and then you have like a 20 or 30 turn game, that would actually be pretty solid, you know, because of how large the swing of the Star Steel is, right? Like that would be something that would be worth doing, in my opinion. You just set it up and maybe someone lands on it, but with how valuable that swing is, you know, that's something you could take a chance on, or you can maximize your odds of that happening. But the fact that you can't get it until like the second half of the game drastically reduces the value of this, because you just cut the amount of turns you can get it in half, and that's assumed you go to a shop on, right? So if it's a 20 turn game, what, you can't get them until turn 11, and that means you have to buy them on turn 11, which means you can't use them until turn 12, or maybe it's available in turn, I don't remember if it's in turn 10 it's available, or turn 11. I think it's turn 11 they're available. But yeah, so that means you can't use them until turn 12, which means you only have, you know, you have much less turns for someone to be able to land on them than if you bought it like turn 2 or 3. And so that's what really takes the Star Steel trap value down, especially because later on in the game your moves have to be much more calculated to have the better chance of winning, right? Like, you know, when your strategy to win becomes much clearer, the Star Steel trap just feels like a Hail Mary. It's just, oh, I don't really have a clear path to victory, let me place these down in hopes that someone will land on these and I'll have a better chance of winning. Again, if the Star Steel trap was available and very early on in the game, I would have a very different opinion of them. But the fact that you waste valuable turns to set them up, you know, and you don't have a ton of time to see if someone will land on them, and then, you know, and that's all late in the game when your strategy and your path to victory is becoming clear and you could use something else to provide more value to you instead. I'm just not really that high on these items, and that is why they're all ranked here. Next, we have the pipe. The worst of the warp items, in my opinion. I mean, the pipe is just pure random chance. You know, I literally, you know, again, it epitomizes this tier. I literally have a clip on my channel that I'll put here, I guess, of one of the CPUs using a pipe and then just getting put like one space forward. Is that really like the best use of an item? Now, the pipe could also win you a game. Again, like I said, the pipe, you could use the pipe on turn 20 and then it could put you right in front of the Star or right in front of Boo, and that swing could be enough for you to win the game. Like, for sure. I can't really say this item is bad because those swings do exist and they do happen, but the fact is that, like, again, it's sort of about how much of a chance are you willing to take. These items, I'm just realizing now, these items could also be sort of labeled a Hail Mary tier. Like I was just talking about with the Star Steel trap. Like, the win condition of getting an excellent pipe to put you in a good position just means you don't really have any other better win conditions, right? Like, if that's your only win condition, that means you're in a bad spot to win, because you're taking just a complete shot in the dark and hoping that you'll be able to pull something out to win, rather than just, you know, using a more consistent method, using more consistent movement to just put you in the best possible position to win. I am not that high in the pipe. I don't really choose, as you know, you're gathering, I think, from me talking, I always prefer items that are guaranteed to help me advance my game, rather than items that only have a chance to do so. This item has a chance to be a complete waste of time, and that's why it's here. Next on the warp item list is the warp block. Now, as I'm sure you gathered from all this, I'm not really huge, never really been huge on this item. Obviously, this is an item that has returned. It's a slight tweak, right? They separated this, the warp box and the swap mirror. But basically how these warp items go when you have when you look at them in the map, is you have like a 1/3 chance of it being really good, right? Obviously, this is assuming the game is more developed and people are more spread out. But usually what happens is you have one person who's in a good spot that you would like to warp to. Maybe they're close to the Star, maybe they're close to a shop, whatever. They're in a good position. You have one person that you wouldn't mind, right? It's like, okay, this doesn't actively harm me. It kind of just is what it is. And then you have another person that you really don't want to swap with at all. Like, they just puts you in a bad spot. That's how it feels like a lot of the time with these warp items. And so having a 33% chance of being good, being really good, and a 33% chance of being bad is just not something that I look for in items. And right, I guess you could look at it as, in that scenario, it has a 66% chance of being not bad, right? It's 66% chance of being decent. But then what I would say to you is, okay, you can just take an item that has 100% chance to be good, like a mushroom or a double dice. Again, the thing with all these items is the swings for these are very high. If you get these items the way you want them to, they could win you the game. But the swings could also be very low. So these are very high risk, high reward items. And just me personally, I'm not huge fans of those items. I take the guaranteed. I know it's a broken record, but I always take the items that are guaranteed to help me do something, rather than the items that only have a chance, and a warp block fits right in. Next, we have the swap mirror. The swap mirror is basically just the same thing as the warp block, except it also swaps your opponent. So the warp block, you just warp to an opponent. The swap mirror, an opponent swaps with you. I'm putting this in a slightly better position than the warp block, purely because if you're willing to swap to move out of your position, that means it's probably in a position that's not good, unless you're just going for a big gamble, right? Again, unless you're going for a Hail Mary. But otherwise, it means you're probably not in the best position, which means putting your opponent in that position is at least not bad. I still would not take this over any other item, over most other items, but it's there. I guess that makes it slightly better than the warp block. And also, you have the shop hop box. This is my favorite of the warp items because, well, you have much more. I don't see you have much more control. I mean, there aren't. It depends on the map how many shops there are, really. But like Wiggler Street Party, there's only 2 shops. So you have much more of a better chance of, figuring out where you're going to go. And also, the fact that you warp to another shop means you can just sort of evaluate your position that you're in by, where you just warped to, and you can just buy another item. And so that's something that I really like about the shop hop box compared to the others, is that the fact that you can just do a quick evaluation of where you are, what you need to do, and then just buy an item, to say, okay, I'm here now, let me buy something that puts me in the best position with where I am. I really like that compared to the other items. It's still not that great. Again, as I said endlessly with this tier, I would rather something that is guaranteed to help me over something that is not. But I still think this is a decent item. This item isn't bad, I guess you could say. It's not bad, only the curse die is bad. Hey, so this is on a different day than when the video was originally reported, but I just wanted to chime in with one thing on the warp items. And that is Goomba Lagoon. Because while I do agree with everything I said about the warp items, Goomba Lagoon changes things a lot. Obviously, it's just one of 7 boards, so like if you're not playing on Goomba Lagoon, everything I said still applies. But I think warp items are much, much better on Goomba Lagoon than anywhere else. Like, if we're just doing a Goomba Lagoon only map, I would rank the warp items much higher. And they would probably honestly be on the level of the movement items, and that's just because you get trapped so easily in Goomba Lagoon, like with the tides, and the only way to get off your island is warping. Right, so like if you're in a really bad situation, like if you kind of have a nothing burger on this island, or even if you're not necessarily on that like lucky island that's like 4 lucky spaces, like if you're just on the island and you got nothing else going on and you need to sort of further your game state, right? Like you don't want to just wait around 2 turns until the tide lowers again. Your only way of doing that is warp items. So I actually think the warp items are much, much better. I still say the order I put them in here is good because Pipe is still random chance. You could still be put right back on that island. Warp Box, you know, you get to more pick, depends on where your opponents are, but I think the Shop Hop Box is really, really good on this map, actually, because the two shops, two out of three shops are on the volcano, and the other shop is on, like, the main starting island, so you're basically able to reposition yourself, right? Like, you have, you're able to go to one of the bigger islands with the Shop Hop Box. Guaranteed 2/3 chance to go to the volcano. That's where you want to go. So I do think the warp items are much better on Goomba Lagoon than I give them credit for in this video, but I still don't think they are that good anywhere else. But I just felt a desire to point that out. This next tier is called items that will do something positive. And the reason the items in this tier are called that is that the items in this tier are guaranteed to do something positive. But the reason they're not higher is how much of a positive thing they're guaranteed to do is boiled down oftentimes to luck. Or it's just not that positive to be like a huge swing. First up in this tier is the Wiggler Bell. Just confirming. This is where I had it this all. The Wiggler Bell. Again, this item, it does something positive for you. Assuming you use it to, I don't know, cuck an opponent from, you know, stop them from going over the Wiggler, or move the Wiggler in a good position for you so you can go over. Like, that is definitely something positive. But to me, it's just not a huge swing. It's not something I would actively avoid buying unless I really need to stop my opponent from going over the Wiggler and taking that shortcut. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's just a shortcut. You know, you still can go the same way that you were going. It just takes longer. So, you know, again, this item technically does something positive, but I don't think it's that big of a swing that it's really like, wow, I totally need to get the Wiggler Bell. It has its uses, but that's just kind of it. Next, we have the conveyor belt switch from the Bowser map. This one just switches the way the conveyor belt goes. The Bowser one. Again, technically positive, right? Like, I can't assume you would ever use this in a way that's in a negative. That just means you just made a bad play. But yeah, I mean, this is good. Keeping people on the conveyor belt in the center is good, especially later in the game where people are much more likely to land on Bowser spaces. Like, it's a decent item. It does something positive for you. Like, I know this kind of sounds sarcastic, but no, it does something positive for you. That's good, right? But it's just not. I guess later on in the game, this item could be really good. So maybe this does it a disservice, because with Bowser constantly adding more Bowser spaces in the middle, forcing people to stay on the conveyor belt for longer actually could be pretty decent. But still, I'm still not that high on this item. It does something positive for you, and that's really all I got to say about it. Next, we have the Steamer Ticket. Steamer Ticket, it's higher than the Wiggler Bell and the Bowser conveyor belts. Yeah, so I obviously like it more than those two. Obviously, it's annoying that in order to buy it, you have to go on the complete other side of the map that you start on. But I think this is a decent item. You can use, you know, you don't even have to ride the train, but just calling the train to the station to either prevent other people from using the train and or run someone over who's in the train's path to that station is actually pretty decent. And then you, of course, ride the train yourself. Again, like, this one is decent, but a lot of it just depends on the situation, which is why it's not higher. I could see this one sitting in people's inventory and not using it. Or I could see this being the item that really puts them in a good position to win. So that's why it's here. You know, it's pretty much guaranteed to do something positive for you. It's just how positive it is just depends, which is why it's in this tier. Next, something else that fits perfectly in this tier is the Tide Shell from Goomba Lagoon. Now, this item seems actually it seems okay, you know, because the way the tides work is it could really trap people on certain islands. And, you know, if you really need to make a push and you're being hampered by the tide, it can be pretty good to just lower the tide and just get on with your day and be like, I'm not being stuck here, I need to move. Or you could use it the opposite way too. You can trap people on islands and prevent them from making moves. Again, if used correctly, this is pretty much guaranteed to be positive, which is why, you know, obviously it's the point of the tier. But, you know, that's really it. I don't know. It doesn't feel all that major, which is why it's not higher, but it'll do something positive for you. Next is the Chomp Call. Now, many of you guys may be wondering why this item isn't higher. And the reason it's not higher is because, again, you use this, that means an opponent is close to the star. So by moving it, it's guaranteed to do something positive. But how positive it is really luck-based. Now, obviously, you could be paying attention to star spawns and figure out where it goes next, but if you're not doing that, or even if you know between a couple star spawns, like, how positive it is just complete random chance. You can move the star and put it in front of a different opponent. You can move the star and you can put it in front of you. You can move the star and put it in a spot that no one's really able to reach easily, and that could be bad for you if you need to get another star to win the game. Like, again, it's pretty much guaranteed to do something positive for you, because if you're using this, that means an opponent's close to the star and you don't want them to get the star. Although, honestly, it's not even guaranteed to do that, because I've seen it happen before where you chomp call and then the opponent's still close enough that they can get the star. Because some maps are weird like that with star spawns. Like, that feels like something that could happen on Western Land, because there are a lot of star spawns really close to each other, or Rainbow Galleria too. But in general, there's a good chance of doing something positive for you. But how positive, you know, it depends on luck. I mean, you could stop one opponent from getting a star only to give another opponent a star with the star spawn. Like, it's just luck. How positive it is for you, which is why it's here. It's guaranteed to do something positive. Like I said with the other items, it's guaranteed to do something positive, but how positive depends. And lastly in this tier, we have the Bowser phone. Now, the reason the Bowser phone isn't higher is because you can't choose which opponent it targets. So the way the Bowser phone works, it's not an item that pops up a ton, so you know, you guys may not know about it. Is you use it and you call Bowser on someone. It basically targets Bowser on one of your opponents, but you don't get to choose which opponent it actually targets. It's actually random. So, you know, you may want it to target a specific player, and it'll target something. It may target somebody else for you instead. Or, you know, you may get the desired target player and he may just take like 10 coins, which is not that, it may not be super impactful. So, like, again, this is basically guaranteed to do something positive for you. The biggest way you could get burned here is Bowser Revolution. And I guess Bowser Revolution, Bowser Shuffle, and Bowser Minigame. But if you're late in the game, those last two are most likely not going to happen. Between Superstars and Jamboree, I have not really seen Bowser Shuffle selected at all. So I don't know why the odds for that are so low. But and the Bowser minigame only seems to be happening something that goes on early on in games. So, you know, if you're like mid to later on in games, you're probably not going to get a Bowser minigame or a Bowser Shuffle, which means the biggest way you could be hurt is Bowser Revolution. But other than that, you know, it's going to do something positive for you, right? Like, even if it's targeting, like, even if you're in last and it targets third place and it takes coins from you. Yeah, it takes coins from them. Obviously, that's not ideal. You would want them to take a star, Bowser to take a star from first. But at the end of the day, that still helps you, right? That's not bad. So, again, this item, there's just two real levels of RNG with this item. And that's who it targets, right? Is it going to target who you want it to target? And two, how severe is Bowser going to be on who it targets? Because you know, Bowser could take a star from that person. Bowser could just take a couple coins. Bowser could take half their coins, right? So, you know, with that 2 levels of RNG, how big a swing the Bowser phone is depends. But, like I said, unless it lands on Bowser Revolution or it's early game and you get a Bowser minigame, it's really not gonna hurt you. Because hurting your opponents even a little bit just puts you a little bit closer to winning, even if it's not as much as you would have liked. So next, the tier is called Items That Are Good. And now this is an interesting tier, because I do have some RNG items still in this tier, but the thing with the RNG items in this tier is that they are so unbelievably strong when you get the swing, right? Like when you get the positive swing with these items are so strong that it's really hard to ignore them, right? Like I can't really suppress them and put them down in the lower RNG tiers. And you just have a couple items that are just provide good value, right? They're not amazing, but they're good. So it's either amazing value or good value. And first things first, we have 2 items, I guess 3 items, that for me are the hardest ones to rank out of this whole entire list. You have the Dueling Glove, or gloves, right? You have the Super Glove, and the Skeleton Key. These items are so incredibly hard to rank because their usefulness really depends. Let's go over the Dueling Glove first. So the Dueling Glove, the reason it is the hardest item to rank out of all of them is because it has the most variance. Like there's so many factors that depend on the Dueling Gloves, and this is like the biggest one that has IRL factors as well. Like, yes, when you're challenging someone to a minigame, you know the factor of how good is this person at minigames, can I beat them, is a very real factor when challenging someone. Now, obviously, there are duels where your only chance of winning is challenging someone that you think is better than you in minigame, has a better chance, and you gotta hope you pull something out. But, like, you know, yeah, it may be genuinely a better play to challenge someone that you think you have a better chance of winning minigame against, even if they're even if they're in like second place over first. So there's just so many different, there's so much variance in how good the dueling item is, and how important the extra coins or the stars are, if you get it, that it's really, really hard to rank. But yes, the swings from these gloves, if you get them, are so big that you could just win the game just purely because of a duel. You could also purely lose the game because of a duel too. Those duels can be very important, which is why challenging someone that you think you have a better chance of winning a minigame against could be very important. And also with the skeleton key is so tricky because it's so map dependent. I think you can make an argument for it to be lower because I believe Western Land is the only one that has, oh no, actually, sorry, I know the Bowser one has a key also. Let me just pull that up real fast. So just looking at the map again for Bowser's Keep and Western Land, the problem with the skeleton key is it's so situational. Obviously it lets you go through locked gates, and I think the key is better on Bowser's Keep actually than Western Land, just looking at it, because there's a boo that is locked behind a key that also lets you get out of the junction, and actually I think you can get access to the top boo, right? You get access to the boo up top too through a key. It's not locked behind a key, but you can go to a different way and cut back to the boo using the skeleton key. So that's pretty good. And Western Land, it just opens up more movement options for you, really. It's not that amazing. And that's the problem with the skeleton key, is it's so map dependent, right? Like you look at, I know this isn't a Superstars video, but you look at Horrorland in the Superstars, you basically need a skeleton key at one point in the game. Like if you're going to win, you're going to have to get a skeleton key at some point. It's because the daytime boo is locked behind a skeleton key gate, and King Boo is locked behind a skeleton key gate. So, you know, you want to have your options open, which means you're going to want to find yourself into a skeleton key at some point. And even in Spaceland too, you're going to want a skeleton key a lot of the time because for such a large, right, so that map is pretty large. It takes a lot of movement to go across, and without a skeleton key, the only boo that you can have access to is on the complete other side of the map from the shop. But if you get a skeleton key, you can farm, you know, right, like you can go to the shop and you can go to the boo that's right next to it that's locked behind the skeleton key. So the thing with the skeleton key is it's so map dependent, it's incredibly hard to rank, and it's just so situational too. Sometimes it could be really good, sometimes it could just sit, you know, be a hole in your inventory that you never use. So that's why skeleton key is the hardest to rank, but overall I'm gonna put it here because it can be pretty good. And like I said, it's so map dependent that, like, if you go back to Superstars, you know, you're gonna need one for Heartland at some point, right? So that's why it just kind of goes here. Next, we have the tower turner thing from the Mario's Floating Island, whatever it's called. This item has the chance to be insanely good or insanely bad. It doesn't seem like it spawns that much from item spaces or lucky spaces, so your only way to obtain this is paying 20 coins at the Koopa shop in this map, and that's a lot of money for an item that has a chance to just do nothing. But you can't ignore how massive the swing is if it hits. So for those of you who don't know what this item does, it swaps from Toad to Bowser. It swaps the top, right? And so when the layout of this map is it's basically a straight line. Now you have a little optional paths to make your path a little longer, but it's just a straight line directed towards the end. And if you get to the end and it's Toad, you get a star. If you get to the end and it's Bowser, you lose 20 coins. And whenever someone visits the end, it swaps between the two. So using this thing that could swap Toad and Bowser, it can change the whole game on its head. If someone's in first and they're about to go get a star, you could use this item to just swap it to Bowser and mess up their whole game. And then you allow whoever's behind them to get the star, which could be you, right? Like those kind of swings could really totally affect the game and could totally flip the game on its head. You can give your, you can use this item to completely screw over one of your opponents, or you can use this item to put yourself in such an amazing position by getting a star when it didn't look like you were going to be able to get a star. However, the problem is, because this is a 50-50 chance of actually working, that means that this item could also be completely useless, right? You could pay 20 coins to have the biggest swing ever and just hand you the game, or you could pay 20 coins to do absolutely nothing. That being said, this item's swing is so high. Like I said in the intro to this tier, you cannot ignore how large of a swing this item can provide if it hits. That I feel like I have to rank it here. Like, at some point, people are going to be winning games purely because of this item. And when the items is that strong, you kind of just can't ignore it, especially because it's a 50-50 chance, right? When I talked about the warp block having maybe like a 33% chance to win the game, or the pipe, having, I don't know, a couple in like a 60 chance, I don't know, right? Obviously it depends on the board and if it's completely random, but the chances of a huge swing happening here are much, much higher than those items, and that's why it can't be ignored, and that's why I'm putting it in this tier. Next is the Markup Sticker from Rainbow Galleria. So what this item does is it makes someone pay double the price on stars and items just for a single turn. You can force it on an opponent and they have to pay more. This item I actually think is pretty good. Now, it may not be as good as like if it were in earlier Mario Parties, just because the economy in this game is much higher than those, but that does not devalue how good this item is, especially if someone has an ally. Because if you have an ally, they go from buying 2 stars at 40 coins to having to pay 80 coins to get 2 stars. It's a big swing, and it means that most likely they're only going to be able to buy 1 star. Like, this item is just really, really good. So really, the only bad thing about this is the sort of IRL aspect of it, which is that it just puts a target on your back by someone, right? Like, if you use this on your opponent to just completely screw them over, you know, depending on who you play with, they may be pissed and remember this and just, like, target you for the rest of the game. But, so, you know, this is an item you have to know who you're playing against in terms of stuff like that. But this item is pretty good because for two reasons. Obviously, the stars, marking up the stars, and even if they still are able to pay it, decreasing the coins by a lot. Remember, coin tiebreakers are very, very important in Mario Party. You want to have the coin tiebreakers if you can help it. Those can often be the difference between winning and losing. So forcing someone to spend a lot of their cash to get an item that they need to win the game is pretty good. Or a star that they need to win the game is pretty good. Especially with the specialty items. Like, if you know someone's going to custom onto one of the shops and buy one of the specialty items, you can use this on them, and they'll have to pay much more money for it. Or maybe they can't afford it now and have to hope they roll low. They roll low this turn so they can custom next turn. Like, this item has a bunch of uses. You just have to be careful who you use it on, because you probably will make enemies depending on who you play against if you use this item on them and completely screw them out of, like, getting a star. But I mean, that just means this item is good. Next is the Cellular Shopper. And now, so I'm not really big on the pro rules. I don't really love them. I'm much more about the RNG chaos. You know, I mean, to some extent, obviously losing all your stars on the last turn from chance time is not fun. But I prefer that. I sort of feel like if you're playing Mario Party, you have to embrace the chaos. But I think this is a really good item to start with on pro rules. I really do. I think this item is really solid because what you can do right away turn one it, especially with the limited stock. I don't think this item is nearly as good in the normal rule set because instead of like just buying this from a shop, you could just buy the item you want right away. Like, the only time I would say this is bad, I mean, this could be good, is like if you use the item. I guess what it could be good for, this would be like a huge big brain play you could use this for in the regular one, is you could buy this item on like turn 9. And then you can use the shopper when golden pipes are available in the shop, right? When it's like the second half, and then you can buy it. That would be a really good play. But like, other than that, this item does not really feel that impactful in normal rules, because instead of just waiting to buy an item, you could just buy the item right now. But I think this item is really solid in Pro Rules, which is why I'm putting it here. Again, I'm not really a big fan of Pro Rules. I haven't really played it. I would probably only play it once for the achievement, if I really need achievements. But the reason why I think this is really good in Pro Rules to start out with is because of the limited stock of items, right? And like, you have the items that are so good. Like, spoiler alert for this tier list, Mushroom Ticket, super good item. And the fact that there are only, 2 of them on Pro Rules, the fact that you can just, right, like, I feel like if you buy a Cellular Shop, if you start out with a Cellular Shopper, the play should be to use it turn 1 and to just, call up Koopa and buy an item right away. Obviously, that doesn't put you in the best position to get the first star, but it puts you in a really good position. Aside from that, right? Like, it puts you in a position that you can recover from if you're decent in mini games, or you just land on like a lucky space. But getting rid of one of the better items from the shop right away, or decreasing that amount is really, really good, I think. So that's why I think the Cellular Shopper is so high. Like, if I ever play Pro Rules, that is 1000% the move I'm doing turn 1. Cellular Shopper to Mushroom Ticket, and then there's only one other Mushroom Ticket available in the whole game, and like, that's just such a good swing, even though it puts you a little behind in coins. That, to me, it's totally worth it, and that's why the Cellular Shopper is here. Alright, so next up is the Plunder Chest. I also just want to apologize. I took a little bit of a break. After that, I just, touched some grass, went outside, and transitioned classes. So there's still a little shade, still little shades, but they'll go down, presumably, as I finish recording. It seems like they're going down already. But so next is the Plunder Chest, and the thing with the Plunder Chest is it has quite an aura about it, and that aura affects a lot. Really, it does. It affects a lot. So what the Plunder Chest does is it allows you to steal an opponent's item, but which item from the opponent is kind of random. So that sort of means the aura of it is a little stronger than the actual item. But what this does, like, this could be game defining. Like, actually, in the first game of Jamboree I played, I got a Plunder Chest from a Lucky Space, and I usually just play with one of my friends and 2 CPUs, and for the rest of the game, both my friend and the CPUs, they just refused to buy golden pipes. Right? Like, even when when it got to be the second half of the game and normally people are just chugging golden pipes, it becomes like, I usually call it an arms race of golden pipes. No one bought a golden pipe because they were scared that I was going to pounce on it and I was going to use my Plunder Chest and I was going to take it. Now, the reason it's not higher is because, as I said, you can't actually select which item you steal. You can only select which opponent you steal it from. So that means if someone buys a golden pipe and they have 2 other items, there's a 33% chance that you get the golden pipe. If someone has a golden pipe and they have another item, that means you have a 50% chance to get it. It's a coin flip. Now, obviously, those aren't always the best odds, but when that odds can literally, like I was talking about with the house, when those odds can literally define the game, when those odds can change the game on its head, you kind of have to respect that. If the Plunder Chest, I understand why they did that too. I mean, if the Plunder Chest let you choose which specific item from which specific player to target, this item would go all the way to the top of the list. Like, this would be the most broken item in the game. It would not be even close. But the fact that there are more items, and the fact that you can't use the item on the same turn as you use the chest, like in Mario Party 2, that was insanely broken, so that's good. Means that this item is significantly nerfed from what it could be. However, it is still so good. The fact that you can basically get a golden pipe for free from one of your opponents, and that they have to then walk around to another shop to get it, is just, it's so insanely good. You can't help but respect it. This item, like I said, just the aura of someone having this item can just completely change the game. So it's so good that you have to respect it, and that's why it's in this tier. Okay, so the next tier is the tier of items that are so good, there's a reason they crop up in every game. And these are basically items that are staples, and there are reasons why they are staples. Like, these are items that I expect to be in basically every game of Mario Party Jamboree that you play. I expect someone to at least buy one of these and use one of these. First up is the mushroom, and literally, I don't think I have to do much more to sell you on the mushroom than I've already done in this video by talking about items that only have a chance to do something versus something like the mushroom. Yes, the mushroom is very good. It's a very solid item, and it's really cheap too. Most shops, I think, only have it at 3 coins, except for the 1 coin shop. And by the way, later on in this video, I'm going to be talking about items that are so good they're polarizing, right? Like items that are so good that you should never really buy anything else but them in the shop. The mushroom is so good that it polarizes the 1 coin shop, right? Because it's the mushroom, the cursed eye, and the pipe. And it's like, there's just no real reason, unless you're going for a Hail Mary with the pipe, there's just no real reason to buy anything but the mushroom in the shop. So the way the mushroom works is it adds +5 to your dice roll, which basically what it is, it's a double dice if the second dice was locked at a 5. That's basically what it is. And this is just inherently good value, right? Because Mario Party, you just need to move. right? Like, I know this sounds basic, I know this sounds really simple, but you need to move. You need to have good movement to do well, to typically do well in a game of Mario Party. Obviously, you can do well if you don't move a ton of spaces, but in general, you know, I've won games where I haven't really moved that much, but in general, you need movement to be able to go places, to be able to go shops, to buy really good items, to get to Boo, and to get to the star. You need to have movement. Otherwise, other people will just constantly beat you to these things, and you'll just be left in mediocrity for the entire game. Like, you just need movement. You know, you don't get anywhere. If you just roll 1s and 2s, you'll barely get anywhere on the board, and you won't really do that much. Which is why the mushroom is so good. It's just guaranteed movement. It's just a guaranteed boost. Again, it's a double dice if the second dice is a 5. And there's not much to say. It's great value at 3 coins, and it just helps you in the game so much. It's really, really good. And again, would you take an item that's just has a chance of doing something good for you, or an item that costs 3 coins that is guaranteed to help you out on your next turn? And I would take the item that's guaranteed to boost my movement on the next turn any day of the week. And that's why the mushroom is so good. Next, we have the double dice, and the double dice I could see being very interchangeable with the mushroom. Like, you could really swap their values if you really wanted to. So the double dice costs 2 more coins. It's 5 coins instead of the 3 of the mushroom. And the thing with the double dice is there's more variance with it. So you could roll lower with the double dice than you would with the mushroom, or you could roll higher. Right, so think about it this way, what I said with the mushroom. So the mushroom is +5. So it's basically like a double dice if you rolled a 5 on the second dice. Which means if you get a double dice, if you roll a 1 through 4, it is worse on the second dice than it is worse than the mushroom. If you roll a 6 through 10 on the second dice, then it's better than a mushroom. And if you roll a 5, then it's equal. So, you know, it has a good chance to at least be equal or better than the mushroom, but it could also be less. So what you want, you know, if you're at a shop and you're buying one of these, to me, it really depends on the game and how you're feeling luck-wise. Because I know it's just luck and it can change any second, but I've had games where I said I just roll very low, where I've had games where I just can't really find the big roll. And in that case, I will take the mushroom because I don't trust myself to roll well enough with that second dice for it to be a higher value than the mushroom. So it really depends on how you're feeling, but they're very interchangeable. They're both very good items that boost your movement, and I just talked about how important movement is. So they're really good. To me, they're really right next to each other. It's not like they're substantially better in either way or anything. Turbo dice. From the Roll 'em Raceway board. Yeah, I do think this is worse than the triple dice. I know that may sound surprising, but the thing is that you can't go through that. You can't stop anything is actually not that great, because what that means is obviously movement is super important, but what that means is with how this board is structured, you are most likely going to miss something. You're going to either miss a shop, you're going to miss Boo, you're going to miss the fill 'em up thing, right? Where you know, you get more coins. There we go. Where you get more coins or more movement. Like, you're going to miss something, and in some cases that is worth it. And you could also miss a star if you're not careful too. But some cases that is worth it. But overall, I would take the 1 fewer dice block over you know, missing stuff like that, because those stuff could really, again, they could help you win the game, and skipping over that is not the best. Next, we have the triple dice, which costs 10 coins and adds a 3rd dice block. This item is really, really good, and to me, this is definitely better than the mushroom and the double dice, and I mean, you could tell that the game acknowledges that too, because a lot of times triple dice is something that won't be added into shops until it's the second half of the game. And so yeah, this item is just really, really good value for movement. Like, you just really can't go wrong. There's not much more I can really say about triple dice than I haven't really said about mushroom or double dice. I guess if you're comparing the value to them, in order to tie mushroom and double dice, right, in terms of movement, the 2 extra dice you get from the triple dice have to, I guess in order to tie mushroom, sorry, because double dice is random, but in order to tie mushroom in terms of value, obviously this is on 7 coins more, but in order to tie it in terms of mushroom, in terms of movement value, the 2 extra dice you get have to add up to 5. Like, right, so like how many combinations are there? 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 2, 3, 2, 2, right? So it's like those combinations, and obviously getting the reverse of those. Those are really only combinations where it's worse. Getting those on the second dice is worse than a mushroom. But every other time, it's just going to be equal or better. Triple dice is just really, really good. And in a game where, again, movement is so important, I can't stress enough how important movement is in this game. You're not going anywhere. You know, you're not winning a game of Mario Party if you're not moving. You're just not. So that's why movement is so incredibly important. And obviously it's more important in certain maps too, like the VROOM Raceway, where movement is like literally the key aspect to it, because it's a racetrack and it's how many times you can do a certain loop. Movement, but even in maps that are more widespread, like Rainbow Galleria and Goomba Lagoon, movement is just super, super important. And so getting this item that just boosts your movement really high is just so incredibly good. There's nothing really more that could be said about it. Next is the custom dice block. This is the top end of this tier. And this item is really hard to rank too. I definitely think it deserves to be in this tier, but I think you can make an argument that it's actually at the bottom of this tier, not the top. And it's because the custom dice, I guess it inherently provides extra movement value, because you could just roll a 10. Right? Like if you're a couple spaces away from a star and you really need to land, you really need to get to the star this turn or you're going to lose it, yeah, you can use a custom dice to just guarantee it. You could also likely just use a mushroom and put yourself in a really good chance to guarantee it, and the mushroom costs 9 coins less. Right? So like you could definitely make that argument. But the reason I'm putting the custom dice this high is because of how good they are at the end of the game. Custom dice is one of those items. Right, well, it's the inverse of the traps. When going all the way back to the traps, I talked about how those are really good items to get early on in the game, and that you don't really want to get them at the end of the game. The custom dice is the exact opposite, because when your window of opportunity to try and win is starting to close, and you have to figure out, okay, I need to make certain plays to make something happen so I can win this game. Using the custom dice block basically ensures that you will be able to make that kind of play, right? Like whether it's getting a hootenanny in Westerland, whether it's going to a specific shop in Rainbow Galleria, that you really need, or the lottery in Rainbow Galleria, or I don't know, fishing in Goomba Lagoon, or changing the tides or something, right? Like if there's any specific thing that you need to happen to put you in the best chance to win, right, that involves you landing on a specific space, the custom dice is amazing because it just guarantees that you will, right? Like my friend that I usually play these games with, he likes to go for a chance time on these last couple of turns, and right, like if he's behind and he doesn't see another path to win, he will custom on chance time and give me a heart attack and try to get some stars for himself. But yeah, so that's why the custom dice, I'm putting it at the top, is because once you realize your win condition much more, the custom dice block just goes a long way into making sure that those last couple turns will go the way you need them to go. And so that's why it is this high. We are now at the top tier. There's 6 items here, 6. That are all very important in talking about. And I honestly thought about dividing this tier up twice, because I think the top 3 items are by far the best items in the game, and there's sort of a big gap between those 3 and these bottom 3, but at the end of the day, they both really fall under the same category that I labeled this tier as. So for right now, I will roll with it. but this tier is called items that are so good they are polarizing. And what I mean by that is these items are so valuable that when you go to shops and you see them there, you have to make an argument to buy something else than these. Like, that's how unbelievably good these items are, where you have to argue, you know, you're right, like where when the decision comes down to buy this or something else, you really have to argue to buy something else. And honestly, most of the time you'd be wrong to make that argument to buy something else over these items. These items are that insanely good, but the top three are really, they are much better. They are like the big boys. First up in this tier, the bottom of this tier, is the Payday Double Dice. This item is so insanely good. So here's how this works. This is the double dice, except you get coins based off of the items you roll. And now, when I was originally planning out this tier list in my head, I was planning on putting this more, at least in the tier below, right? It's saying, well, this isn't that good. Like, you have to roll an average of 5 on both dice to just be able to pay for itself, right? Like, right? So, like, there's a decent chance to just break even and not really, you know, or lose money, right? And or you won't gain a ton of money from this. But then I realized something. This and the next item are the only 2 items in the game that actually pay their money. Actually, cut that, because there's another item too. There's 3 items all in this tier that are the only items in the game that can pay for themselves. They literally, it's like they're free items. So when I look at it that way, I changed my tune. And my tune then became, okay, how much more is paying for a Payday Double Dice than a Double Dice? And the answer is 5 coins. The Payday Double Dice is 10 coins and the Double Dice is 5. So in order to break even or lose money, you would have to roll 5 or less, right? So that's and that doesn't include doubles, by the way, because if you roll doubles, obviously getting snake eyes is really bad for movement, but if you get snake eyes, you get 10 coins, so you still get your money back. So the only way you either get as much money, the only way you actually lose money is if you roll less than a 5, because if you roll a 5, you get the difference back between the Payday and double dice. So the only way you lose money in this item is if you roll a 1 and a 2, or a 2 and a 1, because obviously the reverse can happen, or a 3 and a 1, or a 1 and a 3. That's it. Those 4 combinations, those 4 out of 100 combinations are the only way you will lose items on that. So let me just do some quick math. Let me just grab my phone. So 4 out of 100, that's 1 in 25. Let me see, 1 divided by 25. That is a 4% chance. When you buy this item, you have a 4% chance of not losing money on this item. Just losing money. And, you know, even if you go net neutral, so what? That would be 4 and a 1, 3 and a 2. So that would be 2 more. That would be 6 out of 100. Right? So 6 divided by 100. No, 4, yeah, no, sorry, that would be 8, because it would be, it would be 2 and 1, 1 and 2, 2 and 1, 1 and 2, 3 and 1, 1 and 3, 4 and 1, 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 3 and 2. That's 8. So, yeah, 8 divided by 100 is... Sorry, wait, what am I? Yeah, 8 divided by 100. That's 8% chance. Duh, I don't need to do math for that. That's stupid. So there's an 8% chance. You have a 92% chance of making money, making profit on this, compared to just buying a normal double dice when you buy the Payday double dice. That is absolutely ridiculous. It is absurdly good. This value is absolutely unbelievable. Getting free movement and free coins, it's absolutely absurd, and I hope I use math to convince you of just how good this item is. And again, this is one of those items, if you see this in the shop, it's sort of like, why would you buy anything else? Why would you buy anything in the tier below this unless you just have to go for a Hail Mary to try and win this game? There's just no reason to, because this item is that good. And if you thought the Payday Double Dice was good, let me introduce you to the Payday Triple Dice. I mean, it's literally the same thing as the Payday Double Dice, except there's one extra dice. And by the way, the price bump isn't any different. This is also 5 coins more than the Triple Dice. It's 15 coins. So the odds of you just breaking even when you have 3 dice to get 5 coins, it's unbelievably good. The value of this item, it's so utterly broken. And to me, that would be the one thing that would hold the Payday Double Dice back, if this item did not exist. Because if this item did not exist, you could have a reasonable debate in your head about buying the Payday Double Dice over the Triple Dice, right? It's like, okay, how important is that extra movement versus the coins? But the fact that this item exists just makes them unbelievably broken. Like this item, everything I said about the Payday Double Dice and how broken that is only applies even more to the Payday Triple Dice. Because you have even higher odds of breaking even with the 5 coin deficit. And you have better movement and you have more coins with the same differential between this and the Triple Dice. This item is absolutely broken. It is insanely good. Again, this is just one of those items where if you see this in the shop, you have to make an argument to not buy this. Like, unless you're really low on coins. But if you're really low on coins, like, there's a good chance you'll make it back anyway. Or you're at least, give good value to get close. Like, this item is just so unbelievably good. There's no real reason to not get this item. It's absolutely unbelievable. And lastly, we have the final movement item in the game. I know that may be hard to believe, but yes, I do believe there is a movement item that is better than the Payday Double Dice and the Payday Triple Dice, as insane as that sounds, and that is, it's arguable. You could swap this item around with those other two, but this is just my opinion where I would place it. The Mushroom Ticket is so unbelievably busted. I really don't know why this item is in boards that is not Roll-'em Raceway. Because to me, this item feels like an item that was invented for Roll-'em Raceway that they just put onto the other tracks. And I do not understand why they did, because it is just so broken. So the Mushroom Ticket just gives you mushroom. It's a mushroom that you can use over multiple turns. You're guaranteed to get it at least over 2. But it can also give you over 3 or 4. So it's just consistently good movement. But remember everything I talked about with the good movement and how important movement is in this game. And that is still true. That's all insanely true. The Mushroom Ticket gives you consistently better rolls for 2 to 4 turns. It's so unbelievably busted. It's basically like having 2 to 4 double dice in your inventory as one item. It's so good. It's, especially because the thing with the shop is sometimes you can use the item you get from a shop and then like kind of be a little barren until you get on movement, until you go around to the next shop. That is not the problem at all with the Mushroom Ticket, because you use it and then you just use it again the next turn, and maybe you use it again the next turn, and then, I'm at a shop again, I could buy another Mushroom Ticket. Like, that's how unbelievably busted this item is. This is by far the best value for an item, because this costs 6 coins. It's double the mushroom, and it's, at the very least, gives you 2 mushrooms for 1 item slot, but it has a good chance to give you more. Like, this item is just absolutely ridiculously busted, just giving you consistently better movement for a significant part of the game, right? So I played 20 turn games most of the time, in case it wasn't clear from everything I said. And so when you buy a Mushroom Ticket, you're getting consistently better movement for at least 10% of the game. If you get all 4 turns, you're getting consistently better movement for a fifth of the game. That's 20%! It's nuts. This item, the value on this item is unbelievably nuts. It is absolutely crazy how good the mushroom ticket is, and that is why, to me, it is better than both the Payday dice. Just the value of this one you get out of this one item is absolutely absurd. It's like one of the greatest value per item ratios that Mario Party has ever seen. Like, this item is so unbelievably good. And now, finally, we are at the big boys. So these are the top 3 items in the game. And actually, fun fact, as you will see about these top 3 items, 2 of them actually aren't purchasable in every map but one. And that one map is Rainbow Galleria, where you have to land on a certain event space to be able to buy them. These items are so ridiculously busted. And honestly, while I'm sure you guys know at least one of these items that are here, you could make an argument for any of these being the top one. Like, there is a very legitimate argument. To me, these 3 items are all around the same spot. You can make an argument for them either way. And so let's get right into my ranking, where I put them. I mean, really, again, to me, it doesn't really matter. You can put them wherever you want. They're so incredibly close, but this is just where I decided to put them for this video. At number 3, we have the Boo Bell. This Boo Bell is so insanely good. I mean, if you're playing Mario Party, you should know how ridiculous Boo is. Boo is just so good. 50 coins for a 2-star swing. That's 1.5 times the price of a normal star to be able for a 2-star swing. Sorry, no, it's 2.5. Yeah, because it's double and half that. Right? Because it's so unbelievably good. So many games have been won because of stealing from Boo, and the fact that you can just call Boo with this item and just steal a star, it's so insanely good. Technically, this is an item, when I was talking about Payday Double S, that can pay for itself because you can use it to steal coins. Why would you ever do that? To me, you would only ever do that is if it's like the final turn of the game and you weren't able to collect enough coins to be able to use it to steal a star. I mean, in that case, yeah, sure, it's probably better than any other item you're able to get. Unless you have 20 coins and another item on this list, but at this section. But other than that, like, this item is just so insanely good. There's really not much else to say. Boo is just so broken. Those swings from stealing stars are so unbelievably good, and the fact that you can use this item to call Boo whenever you want, like whenever you get 50 coins and you have this item, you can just use it and steal someone else's star. And fun fact, you can actually steal 2 stars with 1 turn without an ally. Obviously, you can do that with an ally if you go to Boo and you have 100 coins. But if you have a Boo Bell and you are near Boo, you can steal 2 stars in 1 turn. You can call the Boo Bell to steal the star, then you can roll past Boo and steal a star as well. Obviously, that requires 100 coins. That's just a lot of coins, but this item is just so unbelievably broken. There's not much more I could say. Boo is broken, and an item that lets you use Boo whenever you want is just, of course, unbelievably good. There's a reason why the only way you can actually buy this in the game is by landing on one space in Rainbow Galleria. And it's pretty sure it has a very low spawn rate from what I've seen from Jamboree and Superstars. A very, very low spawn rate from item spaces and lucky spaces. So this item is one that's very hard to get your hands on, and it is that way for a reason. It is so insanely good. Now, you'll remember from the warp item section, I talked about how these items have a chance to be very good, right? They have a chance to have these swings that can win you games, but they're not guaranteed to have them. And I talked about how you can get those swings, right? Like, if you get them the right way, you can get those swings that can win you the game. What if you had an item that was 100% guaranteed to get the outcome that you wanted and have those big swings that can win you the game? May I introduce you to the Super Swap Mirror. This item is so unbelievably busted. It is basically the swap mirror where you swap spaces with an opponent, except you get to choose which opponent you swap with. So someone's near the star, I'm gonna swap with you. It's not your star, that's my star. someone's near Boo and they're going to steal from you, I'm going to swap with Boo. Now you're stuck in this corner nowhere near him, and I'm going to be able to steal a star from you instead. They're near the shop to be able to buy another golden pipe. I just bought a golden pipe. I'm going to swap. I'm going to use the swap mirror to swap right in front of the shop with you, and I'm going to buy it instead. This item is so unbelievably busted. All the big outcomes that you could get from warp items. Think about warp items and how you've taken them for chances, right? Chances to have these big swings. And if you don't get them, that sucks, but at least you had a chance to win the game. The Super Swap Mirror has that outcome 100% guaranteed. It is so unbelievably broken. And that's why, again, just like with the Boo Bell, you need to land on a certain, well, it's 2 spaces instead of 1, Rainbow Galleria. But that is the only way you're able to buy this item in the whole entire game. It is just that unbelievably busted, and that's why it is so hard to find. Again, these 3 items, and obviously I mentioned it where the other one is, these 3 items could just win you the game, just by themselves. And it's not like chance, like the other warp items. This one is guaranteed to get the outcome you want that can lead to you just straight up winning the game. That is how insanely broken this item is. It is so unbelievably good. And last, but certainly not least, the item that I think you guys all knew would be at the very top here. We have the golden pipe. Of course, there's not much I think I can say about the golden pipe that hasn't already been said. The golden pipe, it just takes you right to the star. And obviously you need stars to win the game. So, I just bought the golden pipe. I spent, 25 coins from the shop to buy this golden pipe. This star's mine now, right? Unless you get it next turn. This star is so this item is so unbelievably good. There's a reason why a lot of boards that have them, they just turn into a nuclear armed race of who can get the most golden pipes. And that's just because, you know, it's just, if you're not keeping up with buying golden pipes and warping 2 stars, then you're losing, right? That's just how unbelievably good this item is. It just takes you to the star. Now, obviously, you have to have the coins. That's really the one downside to it. Is instead of getting 20 coins for a star, you're paying 45 for a star. But at the end of the day, you need to get to a star, and this is a much more efficient way to get to a star than any other way. Because you could try rolling, and maybe you get one, I don't know, once in 5 turns, right? Depending on your spawn, the rolls, where your opponents are, and that could be generous once in every 5 turns. I've seen very low scoring games throughout the first half, where you get one every 10 turns. Well, suddenly you have 45 coins and you're at a shop, you get a star once every 2 turns. And then obviously you have to roll back to the shop to get it, but you know, like, this item is just so insanely broken. There's a reason why games just turn into people buying a bunch of golden pipes when these are on the board, and it's just because they're that good. Like I said, there's very little reason to buy anything else, unless it, you know, the swap mirror, right? Unless you have the dreaded shop that has the Boo Bell, the swap mirror, super swap mirror, and the golden pipe. But that doesn't really happen because they actually made golden pipes pretty widespread while not making the others widespread. Again, this item is just so unbelievably good. You know, it's just so strong. There's not really much else I can say. Just warping to a star is just so good when you need stars to win. So, yeah. So guys, that's my final tier list for the items in Super Mario Party Jamboree. I'm going to put, if I haven't already, I'm going to put the actual tier list written out on screen now, so you can look and, you know, digest all the information I said in this video. And just want to say thank you guys so much for watching and enjoying this video. I hope you enjoyed my long thought out thoughts about, you know, going in depth on some of these items. And yeah, I'm a big Mario Party fan, so I had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you had fun watching it. So if you want to see more content like this, I don't know when my next tier list, you know, video game thoughts videos are. I'm still doing a lot of media based thoughts Still have plenty more Star Wars to come out. I did record a Dune Messiah video, but that's not going to come out until when the movie comes out. So, you know, plenty of other media thoughts will be coming your way, and definitely some of them will include video games at some point. So, we'll see. But for now, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. You know, and I hope I improved your Mario Party Jamboree experience by just getting you to think a little bit more about some of the stuff that I go through whenever I play a game of this game, a game of Mario Party. But thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Alright, thanks everybody. Peace. Oh wait, actually, no, I'm changing my outro. I forgot. I'm Alec, and this has been awesome. Thanks everyone. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.